everybody. This is Michelle.
And this is Julie, and we are here today
because Mary is here.
Mary.
We're just going to right off the bat get into that.
We are here today with Mary, aka Blueberry, my bestie that I grew up with, that all of you have been hearing about, and people have been asking who Mary is, because I bring her up in a lot of episodes. She's a part of all of my examples, it seems. So I wanted to just, without further ado, introduce her, Mary Hendrickson.
Yes, we've gone back a long time. I don't know that you have very many stories that I'm not included in.
Well, there's a few there's one actually that I told, I think it was, well, we've recorded it hasn't dropped yet, about our freshman drinking episode at the at the Tolo. Yeah. And
when you checked your dress in the backyard.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one. So that was probably one of my more embarrassing moments. So it's already out there. You can't do it to me. So anyway, we wanted to have Mary on today because she has some really interesting stuff to share with us about some training that she's recently been through. And I call it woo-woo training, but we also, especially when we've been, having a couple of pops or something, we call it Mary Krishna, where she has a lot of philosophical ideas and things to share with us. And I just would love to kind of start getting into that. So Mary, let's talk a little bit about your background with the training that you've just recently gone through and what you've kind of learned from that.
Well, I guess the Reike training, Usui Holy Fire Reike training that I went through, it just more enhanced what was already innate for me. I mean, I think of the one example I always give, Anna, who's a friend of mine, that actually she was one that instructed the class. I had no idea what it was when we would go somewhere and I would get a stomach ache.
Yeah.
My stomach would hurt. We'd walk into a party and there'd be like a group of girls just looking at us and no offense, but you and everybody else would be like, oh my God, look at them. And I'm just like going, okay, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And I would beeline straight over to whoever looked like maybe the queen bee or the head of the group and just tell them, I love your shoes. Those are gorgeous. Where'd you get them? And it just make all of that go away. And that's always just been a thing for me. And you've asked me for over years and years, how do you just forgive people so easily? I'm like, I can't carry it. It's just got to go away. I don't hold resentment. Physically makes me
well, and I've noticed that. Yeah. I've noticed that a lot with your family because we've been, running across a lot of situations over the years where you've blessed and released a ton and you've come full circle with a lot of that, which we can get into later if you'd like. But yeah, you do have that very forgiving nature, which I remember you even saying to me so many times, why do you have to have the principle? What is the principle of something so important? Like I would get really stuck on that and you'd be like, just let that go. What is that that's so important to you that you have to make that point?
Well, yeah, you wanted to put somebody in their place.
Yeah.
And because it was over the principle of it. And I'm like, what does that mean? Just let it go.
Yeah.
Get away from that. Let's go this way.
Right.
That happened.
It does.
And, and I've just listened to, read, when it really started to click would have been right around late 90s. And I was a yoga instructor and I was, starting to get into Deepak Chopra and I couldn't eat this step up fast enough. It was like, yeah, all these ahas, yeah. 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 And so I just, through the years, have just sucked down every bit of that. Sometimes I'll listen to someone go, that feels right, which is a good point here. That feels right. I'm not so sure about that. I'm never going to say I'm absolutely right or that's absolutely wrong. I don't know. I know that when I go with my gut, that's the best thing to go with, not my brain, not my critter brain.
Every single time. I could not agree more.
Absolutely. Because your brain will overanalyze. It'll look at all the reasons for why not, why to, why anything. And it tends to, for most people, I think, go negative.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Negative recordings just over and over and over and over and over. And if you...
So for, just for our listeners, because some of them might not know, the training you got was Reiki, correct?
Yeah.
And maybe just tell us a little bit about what that is and why, the why behind you pursuing that?
Sure. So over the last year, it was, 3 sessions, and I've gone back to several repeats just because
Refreshers.
can't get enough. And it's basically energy healing. And when you think of everything is energy, nothing is solid, and there's a vibration in between, and your higher self, everything is energy. And so we're all the same. So what you put out, you're going to get back. And this is all stuff I've been living. So when I went to a Reiki session, and I was really drawn to, I was kind of guided to Anna. I didn't want to go to somebody I knew because they know me.
Yeah.
I just wanted a stranger. And it actually came up on my GPS. It said Path of Avalon. And I went, why is that on there? And
that's
when you have a
interesting.
list of places that you've been before, I had never been there.
Yeah.
So anyway,
That's a sign.
Yeah.
yeah. And I called and I said, do you guys have anybody that does Reiki there? Oh my gosh, yes. So I went. I mean, I don't want to take your whole hour about how it all went, but I'm just like, okay, this is just crazy. These are things she could not have known about me. She'd never met me. And anyhow, she's very intuitive, and she's also has mediumship experience, which, you're going to get into that on another session. I know that we all have the capability of doing, but it's comes from the ability of staying in the present, quieting your mind, and feeling. Get out of your head and all that critter brain chitter chatter and feel. And it can be difficult if you just do it that way. Some people can listen to music, preferably like an instrumental that doesn't have words.
Right.
We want to get the words to stop. And the biggest thing is, and I think this is what we were talking about, when we were down in Arizona, falling madly in love with yourself, which I am. But what I find so amazing is most people aren't. They're like, oh my God, no. Like it's narcissistic.
What does that mean? Yeah.
And then I brought up the baby picture.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Kind of talk a little bit about that, because I've thought about that a lot since we were in Arizona. It really made sense to me.
Well, if you just think of, you can picture it in your mind, but if you can find one, that's even better. A picture, one of your favorite pictures of you, like maybe 3 or 4, where you're still really innocent and sweet, and look at that. And then think of what you're saying to yourself in your head, and look at that picture and say, does she deserve to be told that all day, every day? That's awful. Now, if you're looking at that beautiful picture, it changes it just completely turns it like, oh, so now loving myself isn't being narcissistic. It's like, I'm beautiful. Look at how cute she is.
Well, it's like protecting yourself, really. It's like when you're looking at a picture of yourself as a child, like we were just looking at the one about Zoe on the refrigerator. And I think of that little girl.
Yep.
And, I would do anything to protect that little girl's psyche, or, her ability to see herself in a positive light. Of course, as parents, we always make mistakes. I'll just preface all that. But the point is that the picture is something that's a good reminder of how we need to be a little bit more gentle with ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and that wounded child, everybody, I don't care how you could have the best parents in the world. You're learning things while you're growing up, like what the word no is, and things could be for your own good, but you're going to be mad. And everybody has a wounded child that they take out into this world. And it's so funny. It's in those formative years. And then we spend the rest of our lives going to psychiatrists.
Trying to fix it.
Trying to fix it. If you can kind of remove yourself from it and be an observer of, from the outside.
Right.
And it's hard, rather than being that victim of repeating, when I was young, this happened and this happened. And you just go through life. It's like, well, that's not doing you any good.
It's not defining you.
It's interesting. I've said that to my boys many times when I just don't get why they've made some of the decisions that they do. You said step outside yourself. I mean, I've said that to them. Can you just step outside yourself for a minute and take a look at what you're doing?
More objectively is what you mean.
Yeah.
Because lessons there's going to be discomfort or pain with lessons. And with that, you got to, if you're looking at it as this happened to me and I'm a victim, you're not going to learn from it. Instead, look at it and go, okay, what did my higher self want me to learn from that? Why did this happen? And what can I learn from it? Versus, woe is me. Look at everybody. Look what happened to me. It's like, ew.
So can we talk for just a second about, you mentioned a wounded child. Kind of just define that a little bit. Is it something, is it just, like everybody has something that they've grown up with that is probably given them pause and self-reflection, negative self-reflection, or is it just the circumstances maybe they grew up in?
I think it's where those recordings stop. It could happen at school. Somebody's making fun of you because you wore the wrong dress, or you have the wrong doll, or you don't play football, you play chess, or what. I mean,
it could be anything.
It could be anything, but there is not a human that has not gone through that pain of someone making fun of them and them actually going, oh, there's something wrong with me.
Like self-deprecation, like you are basically kind of in line with what they're saying, because if you're really looking at it from a victim perspective.
Well, I think as you get older and then you look back at what you've lived through, you could go, oh my gosh, you think you had it bad.
Right.
And you know what happened to me? I had some stuff. You were there for a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I am grateful for every little thing. If the only thing I could change is that there was someone like me around to go, it's okay. This happens to everyone. And now what will you learn from it? I didn't have that. We grew up,
different.
Born in the 60s, in the 70s, being brought up. It was a little different.
Same with you. Right,
Yeah.
Michelle?
Oh,
We're
yeah.
badasses. Come on now.
That's why we are badasses.
Yeah, I know.
I know, maybe a little, I don't know, maybe it's generationally. It's like, I feel like we just kind of bring strength to it because we've tried to figure a lot of things out on our own as we were growing up. I know myself, I didn't really ask for a lot of guidance from people that were in positions of authority or mentors or whatever. I really didn't ask for guidance. I just tried to figure things out, or the
Kind of wasn't a thing then.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
I was basically taught you be respectful.
Yeah.
I would never ask an adult for help because I was what kids were supposed to be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
And, even though there was like counselors at school, and I think about that, like, oh my gosh, I could have done that. I think of who I was then. I no more would have gone in there. I just wouldn't have. You just sucked it up and went on. And it was, I think it's kind of tough on kids now. Everything is just thrown out there on social media. Everything.
Yeah.
And you make a mistake, it's there for everyone.
And it never goes away. Yeah.
At least we could go, okay, walk away from school, go home and hopefully everybody's forgotten by tomorrow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't have to worry about how many likes.
How many likes? Who saw it on the story? Yeah.
Yeah. That's
How many followers?
Yeah.
no, too many.
Don't
things.
post that. Don't post that.
Yeah. Well, because once you do, it's like it's never.
Can you imagine if our parents knew about half the shit that we did? If it
Oh,
was
my
like,
goodness.
you know what I mean? Take us back to that time
Mary's looking at me right now going, oh my goodness.
with cell phones.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
Oh, Lord. How many times did we come home, go downstairs, like we're going to go to sleep? We saw a movie where we actually came back from a party, went downstairs, walked around, coasted my car out of the driveway, started it in the street, and went back to the party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe
Mary did that. I didn't do that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, you came
Just
with
to
me.
be clear.
You
Yeah.
came with me.
She was the one looking out. We know. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
We know.
I was going, shh, your dad's asleep.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, well, this is a totally different topic, but back in the day, it's like we got away with a lot of stuff because there was no social media and we were good Catholic kids that were very conniving, I think, in a lot of ways. We digress. So going back to, okay, wounded child. So thank you for that clarification because I'm thinking about some of our listeners are not familiar at all with this topic of the higher self and the wounded child and all of these other things. So I'm just trying to make
Vibrations, energy, intuitive things.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially I think a lot of it can be taken as a lot of that seems like buzzwords nowadays, nowadays because yoga has become really like a religion in a lot of ways, I think, for people, and the universal aspect of that spirituality that people are trying to find. So I think a lot of it is probably somewhat familiar in regard to some of those words, but
and I think the reason it's getting so popular is it comes from within. It's all within here. Where classic religion, it's somebody out here telling you what to do, trying to make you feel guilty or in duress that if you do this or think this or say this, then you're going to, go to hell. And it's all from the outside. That when you quiet yourself and you can just breathe and slow down. And I've got to imagine most people have been out in nature, like on a beach or in the woods, and they're just sitting quietly going, wow. And that feeling, that's the feeling I'm talking about. I can't give it I can't
you have
tell
to seek it for yourself.
You have to feel it.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
But if you can think of someplace in nature where it just all, life is great. Yeah. That is the place you want to visit as much as possible. And when you have a question about something, rather than going outside to something that's got a list of rules, go inside and feel that gut check right above your belly button. Just like, okay, does that feel good? Does that feel bad? We know we've been that intuition hit. And when you meet somebody and you're like, oh my God, I love them. And then you meet somebody and you're like,
bad.
You can tell.
I mean, you feel it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the more you train yourself to feel, it's just natural all the time.
And to pay attention. It's that feeling. And then more importantly, almost, is paying attention and not disregarding it as,
It's probably fine.
Not second guessing it.
See, that's what I'll do. I'll just like, I give them the benefit of the doubt or, whatever, because I don't want to make judgments. But we've had this conversation before, because that intuition or that gut check, it's like I have totally ignored it or not even realized sometimes that it's there.
Yeah.
It's just not paid attention to it. So,
and I think, being a single woman, successful single woman walking around out there, you better prove I can trust you. You don't give your trust away.
No.
I'm not saying that you're not trustworthy. I'm just saying, for me, you're going to have to show me.
Yeah.
Prove it first. I'm not just going to give it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the gut check is a good thing.
Gut checks a perfect thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So when we're talking about higher self and quiet and stillness, are those all things that you were able to evolve with when you were going through the training? Or do you feel like over the course of time, you've kind of learned how you want to present yourself to the world in that regard?
It's been a growing thing. And it's like the more people or gurus or people that are just way beyond what I'm talking about. And there's ones I listen to and I'm like, yeah, this one isn't. It doesn't feel right. It just keeps building and keeps growing, and I keep trusting into it more, and I'm feeling more, and I'm there more. So with doing this training, it's more about helping others. So Reiki, I mean, you can do Reiki on yourself, but it's more really about for others, because I find myself just wanting to grab everyone and just go, oh, don't be so mean to yourself. So it's got to start somewhere. Higher self. I do feel that we chose to come down here. I know you don't like me calling a meat suit, so I'll just call it a human suit. And we're on I know Native Americans use the saying earth walk.
Okay.
You're down here on an earth walk because you have to have your brain for fight or flight. Not to touch the stove. There's things that we need to have to survive and eat and all these things that this thing needs. But beyond that, if we put too much into the brain and work on fear, and a lot of people we see this a lot now, right? That's really come up out of the weeds. People that are so angry and fearful and like, oh my gosh, the Chicken Littles, the sky is opening.
After the last couple of years have been something else. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you can step back and kind of look at they're living in fear, they're living in here. But their higher self wants them to learn something. You're here for like a blip. And there is something specific. And I ask my higher self, okay, what is it I'm supposed to learn from this? I feel like when I look back, and I had some stuff that I went through that was all supposed to happen for me to be right here, right now. Mm-hmm. And now I look at my granddaughter and going, you're going to have this all around you. This is going to be really fun to see a little human that actually grows up with all of this around her, with, the knowing and the feeling and how to meditate and be quiet and listen to herself. And it'll be
because her mom's that way too. Yeah.
Her mom, well, my girls, because, I always had something going in the car.
Yeah.
They would always tell me to turn it off. And now they admit, we listened, Mom. Whether it was Deepak Chopra, what was it, Carolyn Meese, Wayne Dyer, I don't know, all these different people I would always have in my car. It was like that was my church, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, you guys just listen to this. It's good stuff. Mom, can't we listen to music? But here they are. Both of them they're teaching me things every day. And Leah actually is a Reiki master from years ago. I mean, she's already has a practice. Mm-hmm. She doesn't do it anymore. She's got a little baby. And then my little Haley just got done with her classes at Bastyr Masters.
Yeah.
A midwife. Oh, herbalist? Is that what it's? Where you take all...
Naturopath?
She's not naturopath, but the herbalist. Mm-hmm. To make tinctures and all those things. So if you want to know what. So yes, they're all in that.
Okay. This is going to be maybe a little bit fundamental, but can you explain Reiki?
Yes.
Because I've been through it before with Anna, your friend Anna. I went to her studio and I had no idea what I was doing, but I just did whatever she told me to.
And that's funny because I remember when Leah started, I'm like, well, explain it to me. And she never did give me the right explanation. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And,
but you're a Reiki master too, right, Michelle?
I got my certification. Okay. It's nothing that I have been actively doing.
No.
Yeah.
But you get it better than I do.
Well, maybe.
Kind of like hugging a tree.
It's
That's a whole nother thing.
I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah. Again, energy. You're tapping into the heavens, into the universe, into the cosmos, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
God.
Yep.
That's your preference. And you are asking that energy to come through you. You're not doing it. You're asking this energy and healing energy to come through you. So while we're going over you, we can feel blockages, whether it's through your aura or through your chakras, which that's a whole other topic. I'm probably confusing a lot of people, but you can feel it. And then we use one of the symbols, but again, it's intention.
Right.
You don't even have to do this symbol on you. You have the intention of healing. So whether, you could have a bad hip, or you could be like really sad right now, or something's happening, and we're going through and just clearing the energy. Think of it like
saging your body,
like acupuncture.
Okay.
You get blockages in acupuncture. It's another form of energy healing. They're putting these at pressure points to help get the energy flowing through these areas that are either, sore or stuck, but it doesn't have to be physical. It could also be emotional.
Okay. So, and it's clearing that energy from the chakras.
It's clearing, the chakras and your auric field.
Your auric field. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just for clarification, just in case people might not know.
I know. And there's people going, woo, woo. It's okay. Because
that's okay.
It is, just remember everything is energy, little cells together with energy. And if that sounds like, something's ringing there, just, go get an audio book and listen to, I would say Deepak Chopra is a really good one to explain that way. He's a medical doctor, way beyond I can, the quantum physics part of it, which is really cool because there is a science, if you're scientific and more of an engineer type, he'd be a great one to listen to.
Yeah. Well, there's all different kinds of healing methods for people. Not the same thing works for everybody.
Exactly.
That's why people try naturopathic healing. They try acupuncture. They do intuitive and Reiki and energy healing. And people seek out Eastern medicine as opposed to Western medicine. There's all these different things because people are, though we're the same, we're all human, but there's going to be different things that work for different people. And you have to trust what it is that you're pursuing in regard to something like that also. So I can't just be like, oh yeah, whatever you're doing, just, see if it works on me. If I don't have the right mindset to receive that,
and
it's not going to.
You have to be careful. There are, if you find someone that says they are the healer.
That's like they want you to join their cult.
There are ones out there that you need to do this and that, and then come back to me, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of like some
so steer clear of that, right?
You go with your gut.
Yeah.
And if they're, and that brings us all the way back to fall madly in love with yourself and trust yourself, and carry that little picture around, right? Whether in your head, it's fine. But if you have somebody on the outside telling you, right, again, and if you're not feeling, you're not going to know, wait, that doesn't seem right. They're making this more about them. And it should be somebody that you just feel they're very giving. It's not about them. It's they're caring. But yeah, there's all kinds.
And people, it's really important to tap into that within yourself, that intuitiveness, and really pay attention with anything in life. Now, I mean, we're talking about, healing and different types of ways, but really it goes with anything. I think that's a really cool part of what we're talking about is paying attention and recognizing that intuitive feeling, that you get and not disregarding it. I mean, I've trusted that in so many situations with life decisions. So your intuition is definitely a thing.
It is, I like my spirit guides I feel they're helping with giving me pings or making me, all of a sudden I notice something. It's like, why did I just look over there? Oh, and see that.
And don't disregard it. Yeah.
Oh, no. And you have all kind of ancestors and spirit guides, all kinds of helpers out there, but you need to really tap into your silence and within, and you'll meet them. You will meet them.
Yeah.
They're there for you.
They're there for you.
They're there for you.
And we do have people like that have passed over, what do you say, on the other side of the veil, I think they call it. I downloaded some.
Oh, Susan Geisman. I love her.
And she's just, she talks like my friend Jen. Just like she's got the whole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's familiar to me because I've heard Jennifer talk that way. And she had a couple friends with her, Carolyn, or what's her name?
Carolyn. Susan Geisman.
Susan Geisman, yeah. She had a couple of friends with her. I don't know if they're intuitives as well.
Yeah.
Okay, because she did most of the talking on the stuff that I was listening to. But she was talking about her spirit guides that she had a name for, and it was like... Sanaya, yeah. It's a whole group of people that have crossed over the veil. Hopefully I'm using this language correctly. And are available to her to answer questions. And so she's like, she gets these questions from the audience... or there are people calling in or writing in, I guess you could say. And she's saying, oh, this question just came in. And then there's this pause. And then she's like, okay, well, my guide says blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, damn, it's kind of cool.
It's very cool. They're not her guides. Now there's all kinds of philosophies, but her guides are her spirit guides. And there's also angels. And then you have your ancestors as well. And so spirit guides are traditionally not somebody that's been here before. That's where you want to call on your ancestors because they've lived in the meat suit.
So the Sanaya,
they can deal better with it.
Yeah.
But Sanaya are her spirit guides. Yeah.
And they're not people or had not been people before?
No.
Okay. See, that's where I start getting kind of confused with some of this stuff.
You know what? I wish I didn't say that because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's her guides. Okay. And they're answering questions that are more beyond spiritual. They're just, it's really, all I can say is listen to,
you have to listen to
her podcast. It's amazing. And was the, I want to say the Secretary of Chief of Staff for like Bush. She's a commander in the Navy. She knew nothing of this stuff. This was after her stepdaughter died, and she spent years and years and years determined to connect with her stepdaughter. So that's her story to tell. But so this isn't someone that's like, some tree hugger
hanging their sign out saying "Psych it, $10."
She did not. This is.
Yeah, you could tell. She struck me as incredibly genuine. I didn't.
Yeah, and she does evidential mediumship, meaning it's, and I know Jen does too.
Yeah.
Before they even do anything,
They have to send like signs.
The person from the other side of the veil to tell her something that there's no way she could ever know. No way she could ever know. Mm-hmm. And she starts with that because you don't want to just jump into something, and you want them very comfortable in knowing, oh my gosh, yeah.
Well, you're dealing with a lot of skeptics. That makes sense.
But I think also, like for me, if I went to a medium and they didn't do that, I would have to question, because you don't know who's right. And I would want somebody to tell me something that only they would know.
Right.
Because I think there's a lot of I was having a conversation with somebody, and they were like, because I went to a medium once, and I can't think of the guy's name, but I went with Nicole.
Oh, nice.
We went to a medium in Seattle, and I was telling my sister about it, and she was like, but the people in the audience could be planted, don't you think they could do research on, the backgrounds of these people and some of the things that they've been through, blah, blah, blah. So to your point, I think because there is so much information really available to people now about anybody, something that nobody else would know would be definite. Yeah. A definite confirmation, like, yeah, this is legit.
It's fun stuff.
Yeah. I think the self-awareness is the thing that I've taken out of a lot of our conversations, because like we were talking about signs, for example. It wouldn't even be something that I would like, oh, that's a sign. I wouldn't really think about it that way. I'd be just be like, oh, that's cool. And I'd move on to the next thing, So it's like, I need to be able to think deeper or clear my head of all the different,
it's a practice, right? It's like we get in our habits and we just do what we do, and it's easy just to stay on autopilot. And I have my autopilot days all the time, but to practice it, and little by little, and it's the more you connect in your quiet and within or without, then it just becomes easier, and you just automatically it just starts happening.
It can be little things too. Which way you drive home from work. If something is telling you to go a different way for some weird reason,
just do it.
Just do it. And I remember that it was probably about 2 months ago. I had my grandkids over. We were going to Krispy Kreme in the morning, and we were in the and of course they want to get donuts, but something told me to just chill for a second. We were in the car. And so I was like, well, let's take a picture. We took pictures, of each other in the car, this, that, and the other. And I was like, okay, I can go now. Let's go. And there was a car accident up here on 145th and Meridian. Yeah. And I thought, had I left just a few minutes prior, because it had just happened. Yeah. Yeah.
So you might have been at that corner.
You just don't know. And I don't know why. Like I said, it was weird because I was like, something just nagged me, like not to leave yet. And we were all in the car.
Oh yeah. It's some of those stories from 9/11, missing the bus, or this person stopped me when I was coming out of getting my coffee and, asked me a question about my purse, or these little things that delayed them from getting. And so if you think about that the next time, like you just missed the bus, you're going to be 5 minutes late, whatever, the train comes and it's a really long one, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm like, you don't know.
You just don't know, because all of those things, to your point earlier, can be negative. That we're so drawn to the negative scenario in regard to those situations. But then like
the guy that cut you off oh my gosh, I do not miss working in an office situation. Somebody come in, they got cut off, and the whole day they were talking about this jerk that cut him off.
Yeah.
And it's like, that person is hopefully having a really good day. They're not giving you any thought at all. And your whole day, you've been a negative Nelly and trying to spew that on everybody else. And it's like, go away.
Yeah.
Those are the days you just need to turn around and go back to bed.
Jules rules.
Yeah. You just turn around, go back to bed, and start fresh tomorrow.
And then call in and say, I'm following my intuition.
Sorry, Mayor, not doing the open house. I'm following my intuition.
Too funny.
So higher vibrations. So you guys are the experts on all this stuff. I'm just kind of taking it all in because I shouldn't say I don't practice the same stuff. I just kind of rely on you guys to do it for me.
Higher vibrations. And of course, nobody's going to be going through their day all day, 24/7, just flying high. I try to as much as I can, but there's always going to be somebody who's going to take me off, or I didn't get enough
really
sleep.
let a lot of that shit go. I'm telling you, you really do. Like I'm like, I get mad for her sometimes because I'm just like, and she's like, you need to just let it go. I'm like, okay,
let's let it go.
Yeah.
But to be at a happy, I guess happy is high vibration. When you're happy and you feel good about yourself, you're vibing high. When you're vibing high, I swear you can ask anything you want. You will get what you want. You will. You're going through life. Just ask for it, pull it in, bring it in, and just embrace it. And if you're low vibe person, I have a hard time being around it.
Yeah.
I feel it, and I need to
go away. I need to get out of there.
Yeah, and you see these people that, I almost said someone's name, but I'm not going to do that. He's a victim to everything. He's very separate instead of seeing us all as one. So we all have our higher self. I like to think of we're this little human body inside this huge bubble of our higher self. And so only a piece of us is in there. So our greater self is out here. So I remember that when you look at that little human being nasty. Right? But he lives in this negative, woe is me, I'm a victim from childhood all the way through, points at what's wrong with every single person.
But not himself.
Not himself, but will point, out every single person doesn't have a nice thing to say. And I'm sure we all know people like that. And it's like, that's one, what kind of life is that? To be running around looking for what's wrong with everybody else. Sounds miserable. Yeah. And, playing victim.
I wonder if that's from getting caught early on in a cycle that they just don't get out of. And then that's just becomes who they are.
Now I'm going to go first. We all have a wounded child.
Yeah.
And we all got to do the work. We got to do the work to be a better human. And I am a work in progress. I will be through the end of this time of being in this suit and my next time, and I'm sure many to come. But my whole thing is you want to just try to be better today than yesterday. Know and feel more today than you did yesterday, and grow. And you see these adults that just want to stay stuck, and they end up very lonely, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think most of us want to grow and be better.
Well, to your point, what you put out is what you get back.
Exactly. What you put out is, what you get back. You put out shit, you go get shit.
Yeah, I know.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, but that's daily affirmations. That's why those are so important.
Yes.
Because what you say out loud, you hear.
It's a prayer.
You can think them, and that's great. But really saying them out loud is more impactful. And it definitely makes a difference.
And every thought is a prayer. You're putting it out there.
Yep.
Everything you think and say is being put out there. And you catch me doing this all the time. I'm like, take it back, erase. I say something like just to be silly, and no, I don't.
I'm just joking.
Put it away.
So have you run across, either one of you, people that they exhibit that low vibration? It's something that's probably a part of, just work with me here.
Do I?
That you have tried to make an effort to have them look at things differently? Ever?
Yes and no. I this conversation,
Yeah.
I'm safe.
Yeah.
I will do that here. I am not dumb enough to talk like this in the wrong group of people.
Right.
It would be, I'm just asking for it.
Sure.
And this actually happened in one of the Reiki classes. There was a gal that was very upset because her family just thought she was woo-woo and they thought she was crazy. And then I looked, I go, well, then why do you talk to them about it? If you know that's what you're going to get back, it should be just good enough for you. And it is good enough for me. And I love, love, love when I like run into somebody who is, I call them my witchy friends, you know, that I can like go that lane with because let's be truthful, 80% of the time we're in groups where that's just not going to be a conversation that's coming up.
Right.
That's just not. And that's okay. I don't need them to agree or disagree with me. I mean, I'm me and it's good enough for me.
How is Andy with all the woo-woo stuff? That's her husband.
He's good. He let me do Reiki on him.
Did he really? That's awesome.
God, yes. And he's great with it. He's not like, going to go take Reiki or be
Right.
but
He's supporting you in what you're doing.
He is, and it's so cute
Yeah.
because like the eagles will fly by, and I want to make for smudging the fan with the
Sage?
feathers.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and make my little and so every time one of the eagles, I'm like, leave me a feather, leave me a feather. Andy has brought me 2 now from the beach. He's like, look what I found. I'm like, yes, and I put it on the shelf, and when I have enough, I'm going to make a
smudger?
Oh, goodness. You're going to make me go down there. Wow, that's
You
a whole
said
thing.
smudger. You got to tell me what a smudger is.
So
I honestly don't
when you're
know.
saging or clearing a space or
Right.
clearing someone's aura, you can use Palo Santo or sage.
Sage.
And ones I've seen have always been feathers. And I don't know. I'm sure that's from shamanism, a shamanic.
Yeah, feathers. It's recommended that you use matches instead of a lighter. It's because of all the things from the earth.
Okay.
So I usually have a shell that I let the ashes drop from the sage, a seashell, because that's representation of water.
I like that.
Fire. Yeah. So when you're letting it burn.
And then you're just clearing. You can clear someone, which you want to do before a Reiki session.
Just don't light them on fire.
Don't light them on fire. You can sage a room. So if you're feeling some bad juju.
You saged. She saged this godforsaken house
Amen, sister.
before we moved in.
And when you do that, if anybody at home wants to try it, you want to sage some space, make sure you open things to let the negative energy clear. You don't keep everything enclosed because it has nowhere to go. So you're going to want to crack a window, open your cupboards, things like that while you're doing it. So if you're saging and it's clearing negative energy out of a space is what that is doing.
Yeah. And it's, again, your intention. If that's your intention, that's what you...
If that, And I speak what the intention is while I'm doing it, out loud. I mean, I'm usually like with just like under my breath saying it and doing it as I'm doing it.
We should take this up for, it's totally like a side note, for some of our listings, because I know there have been listings that we've had where Mary wouldn't like go in the house.
Yeah.
She didn't want to go in the basement. She didn't want to go. She was, I'm not going in there. But if we saged it, maybe you would.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? It's so funny when Leah was doing Reiki. I'm like, we could advertise that. You could clear people's houses before they move in.
So a little story here.
Side hustle.
So my sweetheart, his dog was like, he sent me a picture of him. He's like, I don't know what's the matter with, he's just like really uneasy and acting really strange. He was he works from home. So he was sitting at his desk and his dog just was like really acting strange and wouldn't be comfortable. And it was going on for a couple of days. And so I finally asked him, I was like, did you think of saging the space,
She makes a face.
And he was like, yeah, I was thinking about doing that. So he did. And
it helped.
Yep.
Yeah, those dogs.
He's like, I don't know what I don't know if he sees something or if he just didn't know, but he saged and then he was fine.
I love it.
Yeah. Next day. All good.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
bring it on.
But yeah, he saged his house too when he moved into it. So he's got a little woo-woo in him.
He does. Kind of surprises me, actually.
Yeah.
He's just full of surprises.
Like my son, so my daughter, she's really into crystals, and she made everybody necklaces and things and gave one to my son, who was like, yeah, this stuff is stupid, blah, blah, blah. And then I catch him going outside. I'm like, where are you going? And he goes, well, it's a full moon, and I know she said to recharge it to take it outside. So just in case, just in case. Okay.
Yeah.
It's good.
He doesn't
Cover your bases.
He believes in it. He just knows his sisters will take care of him.
Oh, yeah. They're very fun
cute.
together.
Going back to my other question, we do have some people in our lives that have some of that low vibration, and it might be coming to their reliving, like you had mentioned before, reliving negative events and things in their lives. But you really can't get them to think differently.
Not your job either. I mean, be you, and, I'll drop hints of things. You'll notice when I post, sometimes I'm directly posting something that I know
someone needs
because of something they posted. Like they're looking for the negative things, and they're just putting out just angry, negative. And so I really look for things to counterbalance that in hopes that they see it. I know who I can say this stuff to, and I know who it would be ridiculous of me to do it, because they're
not going to get anything out of it.
They're just going to be angry. Let's just say that. They're just going to, it's just,
Or just like telling an alcoholic they need to stop drinking.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, in a sense, they need to recognize for themselves the behavior and want the change.
They need to do the inner work themselves. I've been working on me for a long time. Like I said, I will be. This is why we're here. This is why we're here. This is the journey. And so there's just situations you're going to have to be with them, and I can block it. I've learned how to put my bubble suit on.
Is that over your meat suit?
It's over my meat suit. It's funny.
That's the human body, folks.
the meat suit, yes. Meat suits come and go, but you will always have been, and you always will be.
Your soul.
Yes, you will. Yes, you. You, as in the capital Y-O-U. Your suit, it's not you. It's
correct.
It's just here it's our vehicle to take a ride.
So we've got listeners that are completely oblivious to this entire topic.
But you know what I hope is maybe some of the people's names I've said, I am like glossing lightly, to say the least, over this topic is huge. And there are people out there that have books on just like pieces of the things we've talked about.
Yeah.
So if it's resonating and you're like, something about that sounds, you feel that little, that's a good thing. Maybe look up some of these people. Susan Geisman's a great one to look at. I think Deepak Chopra, if you're very, very, even if you're not analytical, but he's puts a good scientific backing to everything. So just start looking, and then all of a sudden somebody will be a guest on somebody, and you'll go, I like that person on that podcast. And then you run over and you'll keep doing that and find your way for you.
That's really what it's kind of all about.
Yeah.
And I think what I've been able to take away from just our conversations, and Michelle and I have had conversations too, is that whole thing about giving yourself a break, or giving yourself that grace, and saying, that picture thing has been really helpful, kind of visual in my mind. The picture thing has been very helpful, because I think about, like, with the picture that's up on the fridge right now, that little kid, and it's like all the things that I've gone through with that little kid that's now a big kid. And you just look at her, and it's like you want her to see, or anybody else whose picture is, the little kid picture, to see, does that little person have any clue what was coming, and how do they handle those things, and how can you give yourself as that grown-up version of that little person?
And that's the hard part. It's so funny. I really feel, just in a nutshell, that is our job is to fall madly in love with ourselves. And when you've gone through some stuff and people have said and done some things, and maybe you've done some things that you think are unforgivable and forgivable, and your brain is just rewinding and playing, that's hard.
Yeah.
But when you can look at your little self and go, yeah, you deserve it. Don't, they're hard recordings to erase. It's almost like a groove in a rock, right? It's just around, and it's just getting deeper and deeper, and it's harder and harder to jump off that track.
Even if it's a subconscious thing, you're not trying to rely upon those traumas or whatever they are, but they're just there.
Your brain is there to kind of help you figure out logical things, and unfortunately, not much more. And so it's just a recorder to pull memories from, and unfortunately, it wants to keep talking.
Yeah,
you need to start feeling. Quit. Get out of your head. Get into your solar plex area and just bring it down. Your heart area. Get out of your head.
A lot of that can be accomplished through meditation, right? So that's something I have a really hard time with, that because it's the calming your brain and sitting still. Well, the sitting still part.
Yeah, and I think people think of that person sitting there completely still, you're saying Om or whatever with their hands face up on their knees, and
that doesn't have to be how you meditate.
You can, one of the things I think, there's several classical music pieces that I like, but find something instrumental that has that feel. It's not going to be something loud and booming. It's you'll know what's going to connect with your heart, and just listen to the music. It keeps you in the present. So maybe just find, okay, I'm going to see if I can hear the violin, and then maybe the flute or this, and but you're not really saying that. You're just staying with that song or that music right here. And you will have thoughts flying around. Just ignore them. They're just going to fly around. Just let them. You can't stop them.
Right.
And with practice you can, but just ignore them. And you'll have what the hell am I doing? And coming here, and this is stupid coming there, and just ignore them and just keep listening to the music and just let those words, give them no attention, and you kind of become the observer, which is so cool, because then you're stepping back and you're observing what your brain's saying. You're going, wow, my brain says some crappy things.
Yeah.
Right. But you're not your brain. That's where you can kind of go, oh, there it is. There's the two things right here. My brain's saying this stuff, and I'm going, what the heck? So,
yeah.
I think because it's kind of an intangible thing, just like with religion, like formalized religion, informal religion, whatever, everything's based on faith. It's based on things that you have to believe, but you don't necessarily see. With this, it's kind of the same thing. You're having to calm your brain, and you're having to let those fleeting thoughts out, but you're trying to give yourself that space, if you will, to be able to have the peace.
And it's a feeling, your heart, you just feel your heart when you're listening to this song. Just feel your heart. Pretty soon you're not going to hear those, because you're focused more on feeling than this thing. And most of us go day in and day out with this thing going 24/7.
Yeah.
And never shutting the hell up.
What helped me was guided meditation when I very first started meditating, for that reason, because it's like, for music alone for me it was too challenging starting out.
No, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
And so for some reason I like Jason Stevenson, his guided meditation, and its visualization.
Does he have a really calming voice?
He's got an Australian accent.
Oh, geez.
But it's, I don't know. It just came across him. He's on YouTube.
Okay.
And when I like going to the sauna, I do meditation when I'm at the sauna, and I do the guided meditation. But when I back to what I was saying, is I would do it at night when I was going to sleep.
There you go.
And
it's kind of it's more like, in the shamanic sense, it's journeying.
Yes.
He's taking you on a journey, or she, whoever who's doing they're journeying with you, and they're taking you through and to. And so you're
kind of focused on that. Yeah. Because you're listening, and they're taking you through this place, whatever it might be. Might be a stone home in the middle of the forest. And then they go through all the details when you walk in the door, and then just, you can feel, it's like almost as if you're there because you're listening, and it just takes you there. So for me, the guided meditation at times is when I feel like I'm going to have a hard time calming my brain, the guided meditation really helps me with that.
Yeah. I've done those before where they talk about like relaxing your toes, and then you relax your leg,
start
that
from
kind of thing.
From your head down your toes, and
it's anything that's keeping you present, and you're not anything that's going to happen past this moment or before this moment. It doesn't matter. It already happened. It hasn't happened yet. Just be. Yeah.
So you guys,
but it's so easier said than done. Isn't it? It's.
Do you find that, is it like something that you meditate every day?
I try to in one sense or another. And boy, am I not as nice when I don't.
I was going to say, I do notice when I don't.
I'm short.
I don't do it every day.
So is it like 10 minutes? Or?
But see, that's the thing.
Here I go asking more questions.
Well, if I haven't had time, that's when I'll do it at night. That's when I bring on the guided meditation. Like if I've gone all day and I haven't had time and I feel like I don't have time, I'm going to be in bed anyways, and I do it then.
Okay.
So Susan Geisman's going to owe me money for this. I am plugging her. Like she has got a 3-minute, I think it's 3-minute meditation called The Sip of the Divine, and it's 3 minutes, and and you can find it right on her website, and it's free. She's got tons of free stuff, and it's, there's tons of things out there. I'm sure on Spotify they've got all kinds of guided meditations and
the brain is a powerful thing.
I know,
so much so, and so you really have to try to be mindful of what you're allowing into it,
and change your narrative, right? And I'm finding myself more and more when I'm just wandering around. I've got songs in my head instead of words, just like stories or words or me thinking about someone or this person or that person. I'm singing songs more and more, almost 100% of the time. The only time I'm not is like recently I had a family member, not my kids or my husband, do something. And so in my mind, I'm like going, okay, I need to go do this with him, and I need to talk to him, and he needs to. And and I start going, da, 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 da. So that's the only time I don't. And when I catch myself doing that, I'm like, stop, clear it. And I try to find a song to play in my head, because it seems like your brain just needs to have something going.
Something else to focus on.
Yeah. So put something fun.
And that's what, like, people a lot of times will have the TV going.
Yeah.
Just for, so you don't feel like you're home alone, or just so you have some background.
I always have music going.
Chatter. But so I think music or something other than all the god awful things that are on TV now, that are going in your brain, not even knowing, that's why I say just be mindful of what you've got going on around you.
Absolutely.
Well, with that, I think we will probably want to have you in for another episode where we can talk about some of these other things in a little bit more depth.
I would love to.
That would be awesome. I really appreciate having you here.
Thank you, BFF.
Yes. And Michelle, too. It's been really fun because I kind of, you guys are my shamans. I'm learning from you. I hugged a tree in Mary's honor.
Yeah, she did. I sent her on a retreat that I had a great time on, and then she called me and said, Mary, I hugged a tree today. I literally hugged a tree, and I'm like, well, yeah, that's grandmother tree. Tomorrow you're going to be hugging grandfather rock. And then I'm in my head going, oh, wow, maybe this wasn't her lane.
Maybe this is a little too much for her. Oh goodness. Well, I ate really healthy, and it was a vegan trip. Yeah. And we had to eat in silence. It was very much not me, but I learned a lot.
It was meditative eating.
Yeah, whatever.
I was not at that point. I should have been using my brain.
Yeah.
And thought a little more.
A little more closely.
You were in search. You were searching. So it was just part of the journey.
It's like amazing. You gotta go.
Yeah.
So, well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Mary, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
It was a fun episode to do. And remember to follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We're on TikTok. And if you have any thoughts or ideas, send us an email to a blonde, a brunette, and a mic at
gmail.com.
All
Or,
right.
of course, you can slide into Michelle's DMs if you want.
Hey, beautiful.
Hey, baby. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.